Biden has absolutely jumped ship on rail workers, and it's not good. It's not good. So what happened is the rail workers have been trying to negotiate a new contract for a very long time with the rail companies. There's only like 5 rail companies because we're supposed to have anti monopoly laws, but we don't use them. Haven't used them since broke up Standard Oil, all the way back in the early 1900s. So what was like 30 rail companies is now 5 because the other 5 bought all the other ones. And so the 5 companies have a lot of power, and they've been slowly over the years chipping away at the benefits that the rail workers get, to the point where rail workers haven't gotten raises in years. When the pandemic hit, they fired a bunch of people and then just expected the other rail workers to pick up the slack. And they haven't been able to hire new people because their benefits are kind of garbage versus the work that they do. People aren't allowed to take time off of work, even for medical reasons. They don't get sick days. They don't get adequate vacation time. They have to be available at the drop of a hat to go on these long haul train routes, and not getting enough sleep, being overworked. I mean, there's supposed to be laws for how long you can operate heavy machinery in a given day. We have it for truck drivers. They're only allowed to drive X number of hours in a given day. I'm not sure if it's federally mandated or if it varies by state, but they're only allowed to work a certain number of hours in a day. And the same thing is supposed to be true for train operators, but they're getting them on for a 10-hour shift, dropping them off back at home. They sleep 4 hours and get up and go do another 10-hour shift. And they have to do it. According to the rail companies, you have to do it or get fucked. And and Biden stepped in and seemed back in September, I think, seemed to have negotiated a union contract that the union reps were happy with and the rail companies were happy with, and it did do some good things. I'm not saying it didn't. It says here the deal gave workers a 24% raise over 5 years, 1 additional paid personal day, and caps on healthcare costs. So their healthcare is not allowed to go up in price. And it included modifications to the railroad's strict attendance policies, what we were just talking about, allowing workers to attend to medical needs without facing penalties for missing work. So that was a big one. Was like if you had to go in for kidney stone surgery, if they call you to work and you're in the freaking hospital, you better walk out of that hospital and go to work. Legit, that was things that happened before this contract was negotiated. So those things are good, but a big one that the union members wanted was paid sick days. Not a crazy amount of paid sick days, just 7 paid sick days. That's not unreasonable to ask for seven paid sick days, especially post-COVID. I still don't know why every company doesn't have some paid sick day policy. I'm not saying that you need to everybody needs to be paid for every time they go off sick. I'm fully aware that people will game the system if you give them a chance to game the system. I get it. I understand. Right? But there should be something. Maybe you earn sick days. If you work a month, you get half a day, or I don't know what it would be. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but it really sucks to get sick and have to take a day off and know that day is just shot from your pay. And then on top of that, you get penalized for it. This is how every job I've ever had works. It's you're on a point system. If I get sick, I have to add a point to my freaking attendance record. Even though I'm doing, especially in the era of COVID, I'm doing the company a favor by not getting everybody else in the fucking place sick. But that's not what people want, or that's not what companies want. They want to screw people as much as possible because One of their largest expenses is paying for their employees, so they try with all hell, because you are just numbers on a spreadsheet to almost every company in the country, to cut down on their labor costs by as much as possible. And it's brutal, man. And when there's only five companies, and those five companies control one of the most important sectors of the economy, they have unbelievable power, and it has paid off. That power has paid off here. Biden caved on the sick days, and it's frustrating. I mean, the deal that they did propose is not, it's not the worst, but it's certainly not enough. I mean, I would think personally, if I was Biden, that if I had a very important sector of the economy, I would want those workers to be taken care of as best as is reasonably possible, because it's an important sector of the workforce. I don't want people working there who are the last resort sort of employee, because I've seen that at companies that I've worked for, where their benefits are arguably mediocre, their pay is mediocre, their work schedule is poor to mediocre, and as a result they get poor to mediocre employees that have tried it in companies that offer better benefits, but because those companies offer good benefits, they have a line of people out the door trying to get in. So the employees that don't perform and make the cut and provide for the company, which is giving them good benefits, they get kicked out, and they end up at the companies that I've been at. And you don't want that for an integral industry in your country. Rail is super important to the United States economy. And having the leftovers from the companies that are more desirable to work for be the people who are running the rail industry is not a good idea. So I don't know why Biden didn't push harder for just for reasonable demands from the rail workers, because nothing the rail workers were asking for was like crazy stuff. It was just normal stuff. And it's frustrating that he didn't behave in that way. But I mean, I understand why. Because Biden has he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I just think he either could concede slightly to the rail companies, or he could try, or he can concede to the workers and try to force the rail companies to give the workers what they deserve. And he decided, because of the threat of a rail strike to the U.S. economy, which is great. The U.S. economy would suffer greatly from a rail strike. That is not an exaggeration. Because of that, he decided to cave to the company side instead of to the worker side, and I really think that was a mistake. And this happened at his request too, by the way. Like, this is not me laying blame at Biden's feet that isn't necessarily blame that is reasonable to levy upon him. He asked Congress to pass the less worker friendly version of the union agreement. And like, come on, man. Biden was like, he was on a roll there for a while. And granted, his batting average still isn't bad, but he was on a roll with like doing good things, not particularly transformative things, but good things. Gas prices are down, student loan forgiveness. He got out of Afghanistan, which wasn't a particularly elegant withdrawal, but it needed to be done regardless. They've gotten some prescription drug prices down. See, what was the blanket on the other one? Doesn't matter. Regardless, done some good things recently. Not transformative. It's not going to change anybody's life with any particular like haste, but still good things. And then, kind of falls back on the like, well, we have to cave to the industry, because what is the United States but industry, which is true to an extent. the United States is the powerhouse of the world that it is because can we can build things like a motherfucker, and that's how we got to where we are, and that's how we are where we are now. We don't necessarily build like hard goods anymore, but we're still building stuff, software, um, uh, research and development, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. And the United States relies on things like rail to do that. So, I mean, I understand forcing through a union deal, but I really think he should have fought harder. Now, perhaps he would have come up against a wall in the Senate where if he had put in, the 7 days of sick leave into the bill, that he couldn't have gotten the 60 votes to pass it. Perhaps that's the case, and perhaps he did what he did to try to avoid a rail strike, to try to save what he can from the economy by potentially giving a raw deal to the rail workers. He may have done that calculus and come down on the side of the economy instead of the rail workers. But man, he didn't even fucking try. Like, he had overnight union reps and company reps were forced into a room to negotiate for an entire night one night to try to get this deal done, and they negotiated it, and then the union took it to the rail unions, and half of all the rail workers in the country shot it down. So at that point, you didn't get a good enough deal. If half of them say no, you didn't get a good enough deal. So go back and fight harder. And instead, Biden got the union reps and the company reps to agree, and then just was like, good enough. And that's annoying. It's a black mark. Black mark on Biden's record as president. I'm sure there will be many more. We'll see how he balances it with sort of unambiguously good things. So far, his batting average is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's not stellar, but it's definitely better than the other presidents I've had in my lifetime. And I hope if the Democrats can somehow manage to win back the House and let's say Biden runs again. I hope he doesn't, but if he does and he wins, I hope he takes that as a sign that he needs to do some actual shit. He's doing good stuff now, but it's not really actual shit. And, one can hope.